Here's a simple setup for shooting against a bright background. First thing is you want to position your subject some distance away from the background so that you create depth and separation. Next, you want to fix your camera settings. We want to adjust our shutter speed, our aperture, and our ISO or gain without the lights on so that we have a good exposure of that bright background. Regarding shutter speed, we follow the 180-degree shutter rule, and that states that your shutter speed should be double the frame rate that you're shooting at. So I'm shooting at 25 frames per second. My shutter speed should be 1/50th of a second. This gives you the most natural looking motion. The next thing we want to do is to set our aperture. If you want a blurry background, then a good place to start is f2.8 aperture. If your lens does not open that wide, then just go to the widest aperture that you have on your lens, because the wider the aperture is, the more blurry the background will look, and you get a good separation of your background from your subject. Finally, we adjust our ISO. On some cameras, this is called gain. The rule of thumb is to use the lowest ISO that you can get away with, but the best ISO to shoot at is what is called the camera's base ISO. Some call this the camera's native ISO. Ideally for lighting, we should have what is called 3-point light setup. And in this case, you have a main light, which is called your key light, and this provides most of the illumination on your subject. And then you have what is called a fill light that is used to fill in the shadows that are created by the key light. And then you have the backlight, or some call it the hair light, which is a light that you set up from the back of your subject to create separation of your background from your subject. In my case, I only have two lights, so those will act as my key and fill lights, and then the window in the background is going to act as my background light. And there you are, a simple one camera, two light setup.